Hello everybody and welcome to another Ribald Health class. Today we are going to be talking about the over-sexualization of the human body, which I'm sure some people have either been on the receiving end of maybe comments, actions, or seen it happen to somebody, or been the one that does it. And for that, let's talk about it. So the human body is such an amazing thing. There are the way our brain can work, how it cannot work in really important times, how athletes can do amazing things like, they can jump 4 feet in the air and catch a football, like contort back, or they can be gymnasts and fly through the air, or even the female body where they can house this little specimen for 9 months and then give birth to it, and how your body prepares for that. Like, that's insane. There's so many things that we can do that really have nothing to do with sex. Now the baby thing does, but hopefully the baby got there appropriately. And the body has this amazing innate ability to be very sexual, but I believe that's more so a mindset and maybe like the appropriate timing and just the emotion and attitude surrounding it, right? But all in all, a body is just a body. You should be able to look at a sexual orientation that you are attracted to and not be so overcome with sexual energy that you sexually assault them. There is no reason for that. There's literally no reason to sexually assault a person. Like I said before, violence a little different. Maybe you're trying to save your life, like trying to save somebody else's life. Totally different. There's literally no reason in this entire world why you would need to sexually assault someone or be on the receiving end of that. No. And this whole notion of, oh, what were you wearing? You could be wearing nothing, and that person should still be able to conduct themselves appropriately. Unless it's consensual, then obviously do your own thing, but you should be able to be in situations where a person can be naked beside you and you not do inappropriate things to them, right? So it's how it is. But I think a lot of the times this over-sexualization ironically happens because we have been told, like, many times, like whether it's just tiny little bits or directly told that, our sexual energies should be repressed, or it should be in private, and blah, blah, all these things. And I do believe it also should be in private. Like, don't have sex in very public places unless you're into that. But we should be talking about it. There should be more information on how to conduct ourselves appropriately, because it's obviously not common knowledge, and there's unfortunately this huge stigma around being sexually active too, whereas in some countries, even just having condoms in your purse you can be jailed for that. And it's not even like you have 5 condoms in your purse and you're going to use 5 condoms in a week, like, unless you're in a relationship, or you're not, whatever. But it's being protected if that is to ever come about. Like, I have condoms from years ago that I've never used, but I have them just in case I ever need them. Obviously don't right now, but they're there in case you need them. But just having them in your purse, be like, oh my god, she's such a slut. It's not like, good for her, she's protected in case she needs it. She's practicing safe sex. She's ready for when she wants to do it. It's the stigma around, no, she is dirty, but she's actually not dirty because she's using condoms. But I digress. But there's this Puritan notion that, being sexual is immoral, and if it's too much fun, we should obviously make it illegal. But there was even a joke in Victorian era where these upper class people were so prudish that that's why they created tablecloths, is to, like, prevent themselves from being overcome with sexual desire from these table legs because they're too provocative and bare. And people literally created cornflakes and graham crackers to be so bland that in hopes that it would make people less sexual. That's how Puritan that shit is. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that there were reform schools, and if you were even caught being kind of like talking to boys or being kind of flirty, you can be tossed in reform school, and that's insane. Like, the more we repress it, the more people are going to be curious about it. They're going to potentially engage in risky behavior, or it will lead to sexual assault at some point, right? And that's not good. We do not want that. So we need to have more of this conversation about not over sexualizing the body. Yes, you can be attracted to somebody and not lose touch with reality about it, right? So again, conduct yourself appropriately. And the idea that this, the person that you're attracted to, or the fact that you have a body means you just have to strictly use it for sexual purposes is not good. And I mean, even with people that do have really risky behavior, again, you can be very sexual, you can be a sex worker, you can be a porn star, whatever, but as long as it's consensual for you and it's what you want, that's totally fine. But the sexual conduct where you're seeking validation through sexual acts is actually a manifestation of trauma, whether that, maybe you were sexually assaulted, or, you have intimacy issues from when you grew up and that's how you're manifesting it. That's obviously something you need to look into, and counseling is very helpful, and sometimes it can be free. So definitely look into that, because you don't want to engage into risky behavior and maybe have something happen to you, like you contract an STD that's incurable. Like, we don't want that. We want people to be as safe as possible. We want people to know what they're getting into and have fun with it, and not have the shame and fear associated with it, right? So like I said, the irony is all this repression is actually over-sexualizing things. And one thing that I want to get rid of too is, I've heard this quite a few times, it irritates the shit out of me, but that you cannot be you cannot be friends with a member of the sexual orientation you're interested in and not want to have sex with them. I think that's crazy. And I think people that cannot be friends with the sexual orientation that they're interested in, I think they obviously have serious trauma issues, or they have serious issues in their head where they think they're so geared towards sex that they can't control themselves around that person, so therefore nobody can, right? So it's like hearing, say you're with a partner and they're like, oh, you can't be friends with that person because, they obviously want to have sex with you just because they're a member of the sexual orientation that you're interested in. That notion is garbage. You should actually want to be friends with those people, because if they are of a different sexual orientation, they will give you insight in your relationship. Say you're dating a guy and you have a guy friend and your man is being crazy or doing something like that. You can be like, hey, what is this? What's happening, right? It actually gives great insight. And if you are with somebody that is requiring that of you, to be not friends with people like that just because they think they're going to have sex with you, you need to run. Like, unless that person, your friend, has shown that they are not to be trustworthy, that's one thing. But just the fact that they exist as a male or a female or whomever, it doesn't mean that they want to have sex with you. And that, again, is like an over-sexualization thing. So cut that out if you're doing it. But again, you should be able to see a human body. It's just like with artists, how they have to potentially sculpt a new body or draw it. They shouldn't be sitting there with a raging hard on, or intensely slip and slide-ish. You should be able to look at somebody and just appreciate them in that form. Even statues and stuff, like the fact that they think naked body as a statue is going to whip people into a frenzy, I mean, could be true, but that shouldn't be the narrative around it, right? So stop sexualizing things and just live your life, and hopefully people can feel safe, and hopefully you can learn a little more of how to control yourself if that is an issue that you have, or teaching your kids or something that, a body is just a body until, it's consensually sexual. I hope everyone is having a great week. Next week, we are going to be talking about fantasies and the fun different parts of your brain that control that and all that good stuff. So I hope you have a lovely week, and I will see you next week.